We are live, but we're also on tape, and we are in the bowels of Fleece Music. That's Mike, that's Bonnie, that's Chris Foulds. This is Kamloops Last Week. This is episode 20.
20, that's right.
Yeah, we got a great show today. We have Aaron Shuffletowsky coming
Aaron, the big Butowski, Shufletoski, I think is how he goes by, and he's a really interesting guy who's part of this endeavor to enliven the art scene in Kamloops.
It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I got invited to go to NorKam Secondary. They're putting on a Pass for the Cure event. That's why I've got my old high school jerseys out here. And Waymah invited me out there to do some drills and talk to some kids and find out what they're doing. So that's all on the show today. We both have new shirts on. Struggling to think about what we could talk about off the top of the show last night, but salespeople. Salespeople and pushy salespeople. How should you be approached?
Yeah, I think there's the fine line between ignoring someone and pestering them, right? So when you go into a store, it's nice to have a salesperson come over and say, you know, welcome to the store, I'm so-and-so. Can I help you with anything? And if you say, no, I'm just browsing. And if they say, if you need anything, I'm over there. And then they go and do their thing. Yeah. And they don't bother you again until you look up. But they should just be watching you in case you look up and you want their attention. But if they're always coming by and always bothering you, it kind of freaks you out and you go to the next store because you feel like you're being badgered to buy something.
Harassed. You used the word there. You used the word browse, the B-bomb.
Yep.
And that, as soon as it's dropped, there should be an alarm in the store that says, okay, this guy or girl just said browse, leave them alone. That's the cue. I'm just here to browse. After that, if you're followed and pushed, too much.
What I found works really well is my wife likes to shop, and I'm tagging along behind her, carrying the bags. And if I'm in a store with her and she's shopping and they don't know we're together, and I'll say, no, I'm just waiting for my wife to finish, they just leave you right alone. So I even do that when I'm not with her. Yeah. I'll walk into a store and I'll say, no, I'm just here waiting for my wife to finish, and they'll leave me alone. And if I want to buy something, then I'll go and ask them, but it's perfect. So,
well, I don't know though, because I brought my friend's wife, as I always do when he's out of town. I go find his wife and bring her out to do things with me.
Of course you do.
For that reason, but this guy, that didn't stop him. He wasn't fazed by it. So I go in there, I drop the browse bomb, and he still follows me. I'm with Darcy, and I was in there already feeling pretty good about myself. I'm thinking, you know what? I've been at the gym here. I'm going to get a shirt, go down some waist sizes too, like big triumphant moment. Yeah. So this guy's badgering me, so bad vibe. I go into the changing room, and I'm pouring out of this shirt. I did lose some waist sizes, but my gut's still the same, so I've got the massive overhang muffin top.
You're getting older. Yeah, exactly.
Just embarrassing already. Yeah. And then I get out of the thing, and the guy's right there. Oh, that's not your color. Yeah. That's not your color. I'm like, I wasn't even trying for color right now, pal. I was looking for the size. He's like, do you want me to size you up? Nope. And I just bolted right out of the store. And Darcy, let's go.
He might be watching this show, an avid viewer, and he might know you're single, and he might just want to get to know you a little better. So.
Well, that's definitely not happening. We went to Tip Top after that and had more success. She didn't badger me, and I've got this shirt. Criticism. There's one more banter bit that I wanted to talk about today, and we asked for criticism not too long ago. I wasn't actually offended by this at all. I just thought it was hilarious, and we see this stuff all the time. So I'll read. I posted a clip of you and I talking about the drive-through conversation.
Talking about something light amid all of the serious stuff we talk about and write about in the paper. Yes.
We led the show off with some admittedly lowbrow conversation, kind of like the one we just had.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it. Yep. So this guy, I won't say his name because he's probably in his basement with a gun with a hit list, and he's going to come find me. He says, corrupt government ran by lobbyists, untested forced vaccine that's not working. But nah, let's get to the real news out there. Drive lines? Who cares? Wow, journalism in Kamloops has gone way downhill.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Oh, life sucks and then you die.
Oh, no. Let's have some coffee in between that.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, what can I get for you?
I'll get a grande pike with 2 cream, please.
You betcha.
He wasn't trying to be journalism.
No, and normally I don't respond to those people, but I did respond to him.
You did?
I did, and I mentioned that. And I mentioned that. Criticism is great. We want criticism. We want constructive criticism. You have to have a thick skin to be in media, obviously, because of the kind of calls and the names you get called. It gets pretty brutal, but you should roll off your back. But this was just an idiotic statement that showed his lack of knowledge. And he didn't realize that this is a much-needed, we hope, period of levity amid all the serious and kind of miserable news that's going on in the last 2 years. We write about a lot of horrible things. Today's paper, I did a feature on a baby who died. It's tragic. We write about COVID. You've written a few stories about families losing their sons and daughters to fentanyl overdoses. So we do a lot of real news, according to this guy, that doesn't get seen. So this is not supposed to be a news show. It's supposed to be a look at the news of the week, but it's also a lighthearted, where we hope people find it a little funny. And I responded that to him, and I said, "This is what we do. This is not news. This is a side project." And I also mentioned that he scored a hat trick of false information. He says it's an untested vaccine. No, it's the most tested vaccine in the history of mankind. He said it doesn't work. Actually, it works extremely well if you knew what vaccines are supposed to do, not just prevent but also mitigate the severity of illnesses. What's the third thing he said?
The corrupt government ran by lobbyists.
Well, that might be true. What the other? Oh, and the third thing was being forced to take these vaccines. Well, not really. You're not being forced to take it. I mean, you don't have to take it, but if you don't take it, you might not be able to work here or go here. Not unlike, no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Yeah, no straight line logic there, but there's straight line logic between great produce and a great product.
Well, old Hermels and I, we've been through a lot together, haven't we, buddy? And now we go through the changing of the seasons. What's that? He likes my jacket. $40. Sean John, Value Village. Speaking of top quality, which we were, New Leaf Produce Market Juice. It's the best in the business. And October 30th, where are you going to be? You're going to be in Merritt. They bring the commercial juicer out. They show you how it's made right in front of your eyes. Buy the juice. Check out the apples. It's apple season. Pumpkins, Halloween. And maybe you get to meet the man himself, Hermels.
Okay, last week, no Shandy this week, eh?
No, Sean Brady is taking this week off. He's got to attend to some personal matters, so he'll be back next week.
We started this segment a couple weeks ago. It's been a smash hit, I think. Our reporter's talking about some things they're working on, and here's another clip right now.
Most homes in Kamloops have a garbage bin and a recycling bin. However, now 2,500 homes in the city actually also have an organic waste bin. This is a new bin. The city launched a pilot program at the end of September aimed at taking certain things out of its landfills. Think food scraps, soiled paper products, and also yard waste. So now that this pilot program is launched, we're starting to hear from people feedback and what they think about this. And chief among the concerns is a reduction in the garbage collection. So the homes involved in this pilot are actually getting their organic waste bin collected every week. This is the stinky stuff that you really don't want sitting around and rotting. But their garbage and the recycling is being picked up bi-weekly on a rotating basis, which is a reduction in the level of service that they would receive typically. So you can see how that would be a bit alarming. Somebody tells you, we picked up your garbage every week, and now we're only going to do it every 2 weeks. The city says that 42% of your garbage is actually this organic material that it's collecting now for these homes through this new organic bin. So it hopes that by taking all that material out of your garbage can and your garbage bin, it's actually going to reduce how often they need to pick up your garbage. Not going to work for everybody, right? So we're hearing from people who are saying, hey, this doesn't work for me. Understandable. Also, we're continuing to hear from people who already compost in their backyard. They throw these food scraps and this kind of these materials, these organic materials, into their compost. So they say, I don't need this service. I don't want to pay extra in the future for this service. I want to opt out. Not an option right now. The city says actually this service will be better than what you can do in your backyard. It can collect chicken bones. It can collect more yard waste. It's actually going to be an improved service for these residents. Maybe a bit of a disagreement there about how that works. The city's asking people to try this out, see how it goes. And then in 1 year, it's going to do a review. It hopes to actually roll this program out citywide. So now is the time to weigh in. Let the city know what you think. Let us know what you think. Write to the paper with your feedback, and we will continue to follow this story.
So this week I wanted to touch on a recent decision, or lack thereof, for the Supreme Court of Canada. the High Court refused to hear an appeal over lake access to Mini and Stoney Lakes in the Nicola Valley at the end of September, which essentially ended a years-long court battle over public access to those two lakes here in BC. It was interesting because the Fish and Game Club had essentially won that court case back in 2018, allowing public access to the lakes. The Douglas Lake Cattle Company appealed, and the Court of Appeal in BC overturned the ruling, and now the Supreme Court of Canada has refused to hear an appeal from the Nicola Valley Fish and Game Club, which essentially leaves that court case at its end, essentially. So I spoke with club member Rick McGowan and the club's lawyer Chris Harvey recently, just to talk about the impacts of all this. And that story is in our paper this week, and you can catch it online as well, KamloopsLastWeek.com. This feels like a watershed moment now with that case, no pun intended. But it had been a case that had long been viewed as kind of this David versus Goliath story type, and a real precedent setter in BC, potentially for a whole bunch of other lakes. So now that we're kind of at the end of that case and at the end of the road with regards to Mini and Stoney, it'll kind of be interesting to see, what, if any, impact this case will have going forward. That's all for me for now. Back to you guys in the studio.
How's your recycling game? Are you on it? Like doing the right thing, doing right things in the right bags?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. It's not that hard. I mean, when I have like old fruit, I throw it in the back into this gully behind us because
bears.
The deer come up and they like to eat it. So, and plus it's organic, so it's not good. It's not littering. You're helping the soil.
Yeah.
Out of the 2,500 homes, I think there was about 20 or 30 that sent back their cart because they're already doing it. And there's a lady in the story who says, well, I don't want to be charged for this. I've been doing this for 14 years. I'm ahead of the curve. Maybe the city should pay her. Mm-hmm. So there's some people like that, but most people aren't doing this. And there's other little sort of tweaks with it. There's other little weird things about it. Like they might want to delay, the garbage till maybe twice every 2 weeks, because the theory is if this works, you won't need to pick up your garbage picked up every week because a lot of the garbage that's in there is now going to be in organics, right? All your food waste and scraps and stuff like that. But it's just a new thing, and it's all about helping the environment and also returning everything back to the soil. So.
We can twerk on over to the next topic. Mm-hmm. Michael's topic, I don't want to see Michael twerking either. That would be scary. His issue is pretty complicated. I read his story. It's a long story about the two lakes and the ruling that came down. Yeah. Is there any way to kind of simplify it?
Yeah. There's the Nicola Valley Fish and Game Club has had a long, almost 10-year battle with the owner of the Douglas Lake Cattle Ranch, which is Stan Kronig, who's he married a Walmart daughter.
This is a huge, big deal.
Yeah, and he owns Colorado Avalanche. I think he owns the LA Rams. He owns Arsenal Football Club in England. He owns Sophie Stadium in Southern California. I mean, he's a billionaire, and he married into the Walmart family. So he owns this huge ranch. I think it's North America's largest cattle ranch, just in Merritt there. And there's lakes on there, and it's a really complicated thing about the water in the lake is public. It's Crown land, but the land getting to the lake is private. And up until now, you couldn't block the public from going to a lake because the lake is public. And he had blocked off access to Mini and Stone lakes, these two lakes on his ranch, and the Fish and Game Club argued that that's against the law because that lake and the air above it and the water is public. It's Crown land, and up until now you couldn't block it. But they went to court. The Fish and Game Club won. They appealed it to the Appeal Court of BC. They reversed it. The Fish and Game Club lost and were ordered to pay his costs, court costs,
which they say they're not going to do.
$44,000. And then the Fish and Game Club asked to appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada. It's called Ask for Leave for Appeal, and the Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to. They don't give a reason. They just say, we're not going to look at this one. They have millions in front of them, probably, millions of cases to consider. So it's dead. There's nowhere else to go.
It seems like a loss for the little guy.
It's a loss.
The big billionaire won.
It is a huge loss to the little guy. And like you say, he in the story, the club spokesman said, we're not paying. We're not paying.
Yeah, I like that.
They have to pay Stan Kroenke.
Cranky should give him a break. Just don't make them pay.
$44,000,
Yeah.
which is basically meal money for one day for one of his superstars. But he'll probably grind it out of them. He'll probably take
sure.
ownership of their club and turn it into some for-profit venture.
But it's a precedent setter as well. It could be.
It is a precedent setter. That's what one of the club's lawyers says. Because unless another court overturns it, anyone who owns land and has a public body of water on the land can now ban people from going there. And there's a lot of lakes you go to you may think is public, but it might be on private property. But until now, the owner is just letting you go into their lake. It's a really weird thing. Like the lake, the water's public, but the land around it's private. And how do you marry the two?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let's wade into some new waters in Above the Folds.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, this is the Michael Potestio show. That's his photo right there from a couple weeks ago.
October 4th, outside of the, I think it's called Canada's Best Value Inn and Suites. It used to be called the Acadian Inn. It's just down the road from Lee's studio here, 1300 block of Columbia Street, just in East downtown.
Okay, and you wrote a column. I read it. Give us the down low.
Well, the gist of the column is it touches on the serious issue that we've been talking about and writing about it for forever, which is the street crime issue and the sort of the related issues of addictions and mental health and all that. But and there's a big hue and cry about people getting arrested, and every time the police release something or talk to us, they say they arrested a suspect and they were released on conditions, and people get all, why was he released? Well, the court releases you almost automatically now. It's aggravating. It's called a catch and release system by the critics of the justice system, because they say that people being released then commit more crimes, and then they get arrested, they go to court, they're released again, they commit more crimes. It's a revolving door of justice system. And I just recognized the name of the guy they arrested on this day as someone we've written about extensively in the last 10 years. And I didn't name him in the column because he might have some trials coming up. I don't want to jeopardize the trial, but if you go online, you can easily find this guy's name. My point was this: if anyone needs to be kept in custody, it's a guy like this, who he was arrested on October 4th because a cop saw him walk into the motel and knew he was wanted on a warrant. He was wanted on a warrant because he was arrested as one of 3 people who allegedly robbed the Lord Co., right by Lee's Music again, and drove the van into the park, Riverside Park, and set it ablaze and ran away, and they arrested 3 people. So he's accused of being one of those 3 people. They were all arrested. They're all well known to police. They were brought to court. They were released to come back later. And then that was on August 3rd. August 18th, the same guy was arrested because there was a fight in a fast food restaurant in Sahalee. He hid in the bathroom. The cops came. They found him. He had a knife on him and break-in tools, contrary to the conditions he was released from. Mm-hmm. August 3rd. He has had 37 convictions in 10 years. He's only 25 years old. And once the RCMP anti-terrorism unit searched his house because he had a bunch of weapons and maps of Greyhound bus depots around the place. And the year before that, he broke into a house in North Kamloops, stole a gaming console, set the house on fire, and killed the family dog.
Wow.
But he's not in custody.
Wow.
So,
well, you also talked to lawyers, and you said there's a group of like 27 of these types of criminals?
Over the last year or two, a few lawyers have told me, not just me, other reporters in town can vouch for this, there's about 20 to 30 people in town who are responsible for probably 80 to 90% of all the crime. So there's a small group of idiots, and we're not who are doing all this crime. And so if you got these people, and you know the people who aren't into this hard justice thing would say, well, you know, we can't lock them all. Look at the states. You lock them all up, there's still crime, and that's true. You can't arrest your way out of any solution, as the Sid Leckie, the head of the RCMP, has said, and he's right. But you can take these 30 idiots, get them off the street, and you wouldn't believe. I believe you wouldn't believe the improvement there would be in the city if you take the core group of troublemakers and get them out of here. And
But it just goes back to the limits of the judicial system, though, doesn't it? Again, like we've talked about it before, how there's only so much you can do. Like the cops just take them in and they get released because that's just the law.
well, the cops can't do anything, but they're doing their job. They're doing
Yeah,
their
no,
job really
I know,
well,
but
actually.
they-
But it gets to this. Well, the judges are releasing them because
Yeah.
they're going by a philosophy that maybe you could argue started with Pierre Elliott Trudeau in '82 and all the way up to now. But maybe you don't want to go so harsh just to maybe a Stephen Harper lock them all up type of thing. But have we swung too far the wrong other way where explanations become excuses?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm wondering.
Well, if you're Mike Miltimore, are you happy with the gear that you have in here, with all these people being released back out and all these robberies happening all around you, thinking, I don't want to be a victim of something like that. I've worked hard, why should I be put at risk?
And to be fair, some of these people who break into cars and steal stuff, they're doing it out of necessity. Some are homeless, some have addictions they need to feed. We get that. But these 20 or 30 people, a lot of them they're just career criminals, and they shouldn't be on the street.
Yeah.
Because people deserve a right to walk around the streets. The number of letters and calls we get from people who say they can't even go downtown anymore is astonishing.
Maybe our next guest has a take on that in Last Week This Week.
Aaron, the big Shufletoski is he's a guy who's really involved with the art scene in town, and he's helped revive or sort of transform the Stagehouse Theatre into the Effie Arts Collective. It's a really cool place in the North Kamloops in Tranquil Road, right across from the Redbeard. And they just finished running also. He's part of the Kamloops Comedy Festival. They brought in some big names last week, and they have a whole bunch of stuff coming up. Live entertainment, from stand-up comedy to music, maybe to plays. And that's his, I think that's his side gig, his passion gig, his day job. He's a surveyor. Like one of those guys who call you at night and ask you annoying questions about, oh no, sorry, he's a surveyor. He does the road stuff and the land stuff. So that's my attempt at comedy. Bringing in a funny guy. I've seen him twice do stand-up. He's very, very good. Apparently he's a pretty good musician. I think he's also, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of a past Canadian air guitar champion, which is not an easy thing to
We're
win.
gonna lead with that, I think.
Yeah.
So let's bring him in. All right, Aaron, so we just heard that you have some air guitar prowess. Tell us a bit about that.
I am 2018 Canada's vice champion of air guitar. Never been the champion of Canada, but no matter how hard you try, just let you know that there's someone always better than you.
Did you? What song did you do in the final?
Rush's Spirit of Radio.
Oh, okay.
And, if you're doing air guitar, there's no one better than Rush.
Are you at the North Kamloops Theatre right now?
I am at the Effie right now. It feels like I'm my background is just a virtual background.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah.
It is real.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so that's the old Stagehouse Theatre, right?
It is, and some people in Kamloops, they might know it better as Joe's Cabaret.
Back in the day,
or
yeah.
Stefano's. We actually found out in the 60s it was a strip club called the Mad Trapper.
Okay, excellent. Right on. So I've been there. I've been there when it was the Stagehouse Theatre. I've seen stand-up there. I've seen a number of plays there, and it's a really cool little place. So tell us about the Effie Arts Collective. What does the name mean? Who's behind it, and what's your goal?
The Effie is short for Collective Effervescence, which is the feeling a group of people have when they're all at an event at the same time, and they have that mutual feeling, and we've shortened it down to the Effie. Mm-hmm. And the Arts Collective is because we're actually making partnerships with groups around Kamloops so that we can make this sustainable and profitable for everybody. There's a really lack of good available venues for artists in Kamloops that aren't cost prohibitive or just unavailable for rental because they're booked up for the year. So this way, we're a collective. We have a membership option where somebody can come in, join the membership, and become a group member. We actually have a GoFundMe going right now that patrons can become our Eff Buddies. For $100, you can become our Eff Buddy. And, that can be pre-sale tickets options, 5% discounts on merch. A cool T-shirt and lanyard to identify yourself as our Eff Buddy. Mm-hmm. So it's all about bringing everybody in Kamloops together.
Can we expect to see stand-up music and plays?
So we've got these partnerships with like Cameras Promotions, who's going to be bringing in comedy, and music, and Kamloops Burlesque is going to be doing burlesque. And we've got the theater coming from Chimera, and hopefully we'll get the Kamloops players back in as well.
And most importantly, it's licensed venue, right?
We are in the process of getting our license. Yes.
Okay. Have you ever had a twerking contest in there before?
A twerking contest? No, I don't think we have.
Okay, it's just an idea. Michael Potestio from Kamloops this week. He's a great twerker, so hit him up.
I always wanted to have a big laugh competition to do as the best laugh in Kamloops.
That's a good idea.
But I think we all know who that's
Oh yeah,
going to
yeah.
be.
Sarah Holmes. She'd win that one. Yeah.
Not that would be the most annoying laugh.
Yeah, she'd win. She'd win best annoying and worst laugh all at
And
once.
loudest.
Yeah, she'd have the hat trick there.
Clean sweep.
Absolutely.
I got a question. How much guts does it take to do stand-up, to do improv, to do comedy? How much intertesticular fortitude do you have to do that type of thing?
I tell you, I'm also an assistant coach at the Kamloops Boxing Academy, and pretty well, I'd get up on stage any day rather than take a punch in the face. And so really, that's you just have to be afraid, really.
Because when I go and watch, I'm always so nervous for the people up there. I don't want them to bomb or have that awkward moment. So I just always wonder how they're feeling.
It's just time, really. I've been doing this. It's really funny. 10 years ago is when I did comedy for the very first time at the Stagehouse Theater. The Kamloops players had a So You Think You're Funny competition. I lost and didn't even place. Came in, but Tara Holmes was there. She was one of the judges. And she called me up the next week and said, you know, we really liked your set. Do you want to come and try this out on another stage? And that just drug me in. She introduced me to Drew McLean with cameras, and he's one of my partners here at the Effie. I've done the Sagebrush Theater with Brent Butt. Did a great show there. And then I've also done, shows at the Halston Pub with one person in the audience that didn't go very well. Follow the Effie Arts Collective on Facebook. We've got the GoFundMe so you can become our Eff Buddy. This Friday, Saturday, we've got our first music happening at the Effie. We got Joshua Hislop on Friday with an acoustic set, and then Brass Camel, which is like a 12-piece huge band, is going to be here on Saturday. And what's even better is we've got opening on Friday night. We've got Guyam and Isla, which is two high school students here in Kamloops. I saw them at the Remergence Festival, absolutely blew me away. And on Saturday, we have from Kamloops again, the Decoys, which is going to be, the Decoys is Canada, or is Kamloops'
house band, basically.
You bet. Love the Decoys. So all our tickets are at camtix.ca, another local organization that's doing ticketing. And yeah.
I'll be your Eff Buddy anytime. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome.
Thanks, Aaron.
That was a cool, kind of different guy, nice guy to talk to, and it seems like he's got some good things going on.
He's passionate about that whole scene, and I love hanging out at the Redbeard, as you know. It's my favorite place to go, and this place is right across the street. And there's many times we've had a couple of pints and walked across and seen a play or stand up, and it's just a really, really neat vibe. Very nice atmosphere there.
Kind of cool. You have some high school students coming on as well. That ties into our next segment, the Tattle of Hastings. Before we talk about NorKam, you told me a long time ago how there's gold in high school as far as news stories, sports stories. Yep. And I guess when you start doing this, you don't get into the business to cover high school games. Like you dream of, you cover the Canucks, or you cover the Lions, or you go to the Olympics, which are all great goals. But you find out that there really is a lot of gold at the high school
Some of the best stories come from the high school level because it's all there and it's all honest and it's all raw and it's just, Well,
I think for us too, community newspapers, you can't get that on the Score app. You can't flip to the Score app and find what happened in NorKam versus the Halley last night.
Can't go to TSN and find that out. This is why, and we're promoting ourselves, but all the local news in town. This is our bread and butter. This is why we're here. We're here for people to find stuff they can't get at a billion sites on Google.
And then you think about if there's a game that happens, the people interested are going to be the grandma at home and grandpa and the aunt and uncle and
The
they
friends
can
and the cousins
and the
and-
friends and the cousins.
Yeah.
They can read about that. So it does draw, business-wise, it draws those eyes to your website and to your newspaper.
The locals,
So
yeah.
that's the offshoot of it. That's good from the business side. That's not why we went and did this story. I got an email from Waymah, who used to work at Sahali. He's always been great about contacting me with their latest endeavors. And this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And they're doing this event this Friday at NorKam, Pass for the Cure. They're raising awareness and money for breast cancer research. So he said, Marty, do you want to come out and run some drills? The girls will put you through some rugby and volleyball drills. So I brought out my old rugby jersey, my old volleyball shirts, the Earl Marriott Mariners, to strive to seek to find and not to yield. And it was a good time.
I'm Sue Kavatoff, and I am the head coach of the junior girls program for Kamloops Rugby Club, or KRC, and we're participating in Passing for the Cure to raise awareness and funds for breast cancer.
We're passing for like around 4 hours straight, like adding in drills as well.
I think it's important because people our age don't know much about it, and I think we need to have more awareness about it.
So you girls are going to take me through some rugby drills right now.
Yeah, the man boobs are embarrassing here.
Do you think I'm going to be capable of hanging in there with you?
Yeah, I think so.
They're currently collecting donations and sponsorship, and they're going to turn their funds in on Friday, and then on Friday's our culmination event where we were going to be passing and doing drills on this field for four hours roughly, and we'll be taking donations from the community. So if anybody wants to stop by and drop something into our bucket on the way driving by on Friday, we'd be more than happy. We're going to be decked out in pink, and we just want to also raise the profile for the cause and the awareness of it, as well as the fundraising of it for research for breast cancer.
And what time did it start?
We're going to start around 1:45, and our field should all be set up. So you will definitely see some pink on Friday.
I like that you can be aggressive and not, you don't have to be super nice all the time, and it's fun that way.
This Friday, we're going to have the rugby girls from our school at NorKam and the senior girls and the junior girls, and we're going to do something that's common skill for the sports. We're going to pass volleyballs and pass rugby balls. And all week, we are doing some sort of awareness activity, and we're hopefully raising awareness for breast cancer. And a little bit of money for research as well.
Well, we have raffle tickets. We're all going to be out in the field and in the gym. Everyone's going to come support. We hope to have donations from our principals, anyone who wants to come watch.
Yeah, definitely cancer has affected many of us, so I'm hoping that this will continue to open people's eyes.
I don't think I've had both my feet off the ground at the same time since probably 2004, but you've got me out here, and you're going to show me some drills today.
Yeah, we're going to get you on the court with the girls here and have you do some passing with your forearms in your hands, and if you want to get off the court, that's great. We'll see how it goes.
On Friday, we will be doing awareness, so we will be passing volleyball, and we'll do raffling off tickets and everything for we put together some baskets, just all sorts of stuff in it.
It's nice to spread awareness, especially when it's something like cancer, and it's good to get the whole school knowing about it. We've had announcements every morning spreading facts about it and stuff. We have a bulletin board we're getting set up just so people know more about it.
Have either of you been impacted by cancer in any way with your families or anybody you know?
A lot of my family has been. Yeah. My grandpa and my uncle have been. So, yeah.
So does that give you some more insight on why it's kind of neat to do this type of thing?
Yeah, for sure.
You watched the video?
Yeah, I watched it twice actually. Last night I watched it twice, and you actually impressed me with your volleyball skills, getting off the and spikes there. You got, I think, one through there. I was more impressed that the girls were blocking you so well. That's talented. Right
You could tell my ego got in the way because once they blocked me, I had to get one on camera where I beat the block, and I stared them down a little bit too after.
I was afraid you're going to hurt somebody there, 'cause I'm thinking to myself, really, do you really have to go that hard? You were you were angry there.
Yeah.
You probably saw Sean White there. You just did one of these. Yes.
So this Friday, if you want to give some money, you can go out to the field, the NorKam rugby field.
Friday, October 15th. Yep.
Of all the people I felt bad for in the pandemic, high school students are right up there.
Oh, yeah.
Easy to remember when, for me, rugby tour in grade 12 was what I lived my high school for. And if that were to get canceled, those type of events did for these high school. Like it'd just be devastating. They're grads.
They're grads. My son was lucky. He was the last grad class. He was the last grad class before everything went to hell.
Yeah.
And so everything after him has been just tough for these kids. You're right, and they're social animals too. And remember learning from home and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. They had it tough. They had it really tough. They're resilient too, right? Like Bonnie Henry said. And this is good to see.
And Herman's also resilient too. He's been put through the wars, tendonitis of the elbow, lots of thumb sprains from thumbs upping, but he survives, and he'll be there in Merritt October 30th for Apple Fest, Purity Feeds.
Vote Street, downtown.
Are you going to come with me? Probably not, eh?
What day is it?
It's Saturday. Well, is it a Saturday?
Well, if the Lions are playing, I'm not coming with you.
Bring Catherine, and we'll make a day of it. Is there any pubs in Merritt? Is there still that Coldwater?
Coldwater's, I think, a good hotel to go have a beer in. Good beer parlor. Like my dad Buck would say back in the day. A beer parlor. He went back in the day when there was like men and women with escorts. You know, so that's all right back at the Admiral Hotel in North Burnaby. So that's where they met actually, and then they had a whirlwind romance amid all these.
You and him and his mom, or your wife?
Yeah, my wife and my dad. Yeah, they met at the Admiral back in the 50s.
Okay, let's end it right there. Your phone's ringing too. That's embarrassing. We'll see you last week.
Last week.